I'm asking our IGR committee members to please come to the dais. And I believe we have some copies of a document that's being brought forward. If you want to hand that to the clerk, please, and so she can pass that out. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right, I'm calling to order our Intergovernmental Relations Committee meeting. We have Council President Johnson, Council Member Warsami, Council Member Fry, and I am the chair of this committee, and together we are a quorum. I have 2 items that I am going to move to add to the agenda. One is a motion by Councilmember Gordon, which is with a withdrawal from the Red Rock Corridor Commission Joint Powers Agreement. And then there's a second item, which is the what we call the shortlist of 2018 legislative agenda items. And so I will move to add those items to the agenda. I guess I'll just call them 4 and 5. Discussion on that? Seeing none, all in approval, please say aye. 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 Opposed? Those items are added to the agenda. So I'm going to read through the items in the agenda, and then I will ask if council members would like to take anything off. And for one item, there is an amendment, and so we will handle that, but I will go ahead and identify the other items. So item number 1 is passage of a resolution supporting the United States National Park Service, and more specifically federal funding for the National Park Service. Item number 2, which I will hold for an amendment, is our 2018 legislative policy positions. This is a document that we have spent the last 3 committee meetings reviewing, discussing additions, and also looking at language adjustments. So we have spent quite a bit of time on this document as a committee. Item number 3 is just to receive and file, so we don't need to take action on that. Item number 4 is the withdrawal from the Red Rock Corridor Commission Joint Powers Agreement. And so I think what I will do is move items 1 and 4 right now, and then we can discuss items 2 and 5 together. Item 5, again, is the 2018 short list of legislative agenda items. So discussion on, anyone want to take off items 1 or 4? All right. All in approval say aye. 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 Opposed? Those items are approved. Next, I'm going to turn to the 2018 legislative policy positions. Again, this is a document that we have spent quite a bit of time reviewing in committees, and there is one addition that had been requested by Council President Johnson at our last actual committee meeting, and this is the adding some language relating to the ability of cities of the first class to define junk vehicles in ordinance in a manner that may differ from state statute for the purposes of towing inoperable vehicles. And then we have an additional amendment, which would be to the city livability and community well-being in the public health funding and policy section, to add support for improvements to reimbursement rates for all non-hospital healthcare providers that include considerations such as inflation rate inclusion and reduction or elimination of the reimbursement lag for providers. and Council President Johnson is here, so she might want to just make that motion herself. But I will say the second part to that motion is something that the council voted on and asked to be added to the agenda as part of our minimum wage discussion. The first item relating to the junk vehicles is something that's been one of these issues kind of under discussion for quite some time. The state statute has some peculiarities to it. I don't know that we are fully at a place where we know how the legislature might like to consider amendments, but to put it on our agenda so we can more continue to work on it in a more formal way is probably a good idea. Council President Johnson, did you want to move to add those?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I just would encourage my colleagues to support this. We really have had some challenges in dealing with some inoperable vehicles, and the ability to keep an orderly neighborhood when the requirements are so stringent as far as what can actually be towed. So that item is important. And then also, as you said, the non-hospital healthcare people were quite active in our minimum wage discussion, and I think we can be helpful and supportive of them in dealing with some of the challenges that they have about reimbursement rates by adding this to our agenda.
Okay.
So I would move this, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And I recognize I did not yet move the underlying action, so I'll make sure I've moved the underlying action, and I'll take this then as a motion to amend. Discussion on the motion to amend. Seeing none, all in approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Then on the full 2018 legislative policy positions as amended, is there discussion on that? Seeing none, all in approval, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that item is approved. And then finally, we have the short list of 2018 legislative agenda items. This is item number 5 on our amended agenda for today. We started adopting a shorter list a few years ago as a way to try to prioritize the work of our team, because we have a very broad agenda, and we know also sometimes things come up that take time as well, and so there are adjustments that need to be made. We have not had a formal discussion of this in our committee, but I will say that this is a document that is an adjustment of the 2017 list. It is extremely similar to that list with the following adjustments. One is there's language added that addresses the issue with the Minneapolis lodging tax law. And if people would like discussion of that, I know our staff can come up and address that. But this would address the issue that we have a cap that is unique to the city of Minneapolis, and we are asking for relief from that cap so that when things happen to adjust this, we are able to realize the income that is needed to support the services from our city. The other adjustments to this list are to reflect the already approved or voted on a few months ago capital bonding requests. And so we now have item number 1 on our list being Upper Harbor Terminal redevelopment. Item number 2 is emergency operations and training facility. Next, we have listed the Central City Storm Tunnel. And finally, we have the Upper St. Anthony Falls Lock redevelopment. So those are the items. And again, we have discussed those within committee previously. And then finally, I want to draw your attention to language in the affordable housing and homelessness prevention section, which includes an addition to reflect housing infrastructure bonds and general obligation bonds for affordable housing and public housing rehabilitation. So that's just an adjustment to that language. So I'm going to go ahead and move approval of this kind of shorter prioritized 2018 legislative agenda. Is there discussion on this? Seeing none, on approval, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, and that item is approved. And with that, I believe we've concluded with our necessary business for today, and we are adjourned. And we are on to our committee of the whole. So thank you very much to staff. All right, so you need to turn